Yep, this is Tom, the inventor in paradise. An earlier video covered my construction of this air scoop cover that fit over the cowl entrance area, where hopefully some air is forced in there, down into the compartment below, and finally up into the driver compartment and the passenger so they can get a breath of air through the ventilators. Well, you know they don't get any without this hood because the air just isn't forced in there. And the hood is shallow, as I described, so that when the bonnet rises, it clears it. The bonnet doesn't just go up, it goes up and back over this. And oh, notice the windshield wiper, how close it comes to that. I mean, this thing was really quite a delicate posture to get this in. Now I'm going to give you a video of how I really constructed the initial one, the prototype, and finally came up with a product that is reasonable to do the job. I'm going to warn you right now that this video is going to be quick and brief and not exactly complete, and is nowhere near as good as ones I'm going to refer you to. I'm in the kitchen. My wife isn't home. I don't know how else to do this and get a good picture, okay? So I'm going to go through the components real rapidly. Well, you know what these are? These are the chrome grills that are on every MGB you ever put your hands on. Now, how do I get them? Well, you go on eBay. Here's what I did first. I just took a black, I painted this, but this is a hunk of balsa wood. And I just fiddled with shapes that would sit down on it. I sanded this down some more, so I had a generous clearance from the hood coming over the top of it. And now I put some fiberglass cloth through it. I set it down on a piece of plywood or something, and I put the cloth over it, poured resin on it, and I made this fiberglass upper portion of it. Just did it right over the top of the wood, right? You see? Just like that. This is what I ended up with as a master. Now this has that Krylon paint on it. I just made another model right from scratch, and I really was delicate with it and spent a whole lot of time building it. But now I know I've got something that's exactly what I want. Now I got to make a pattern somehow so I can duplicate this thing, and preferably in solid plastic with impregnated color all the way through. Well, let's see what we can do. Well, this Smooth On company, I'm trying to get this box oriented here for you. Smooth On, I want their rubber compound. They have multiple things they sell. What's it say right here? They're a liquid rubber product. See, that's what I want for making a flexible mold. Now, when I had the flexible mold made, then you go to their other products, which is liquid plastic, right, for making the fast plastic pieces. Both of them have resins and hardeners. Both of them are kind of 50-50, equal mix of each one. Stir them up and pour them in. Pour in to make your rubber mold, your casting, and then pour it in to make your component within that rubber. That's what we did. First thing, I went to a hobby shop. That's all you got to go. Go to a hobby store and you buy molding clay. Here's some I had left over. I keep it cellophane wrapped to keep the air off it. You know what kneading is? Kneading is when you keep compressing it and rolling it and playing with it, get it up to room temperature, get it nice and soft and pliable. It comes in slabs like this. Now you need that because you're going to build a box. All this is explained much better on videos at Smooth On, the supplier of this material, and the supplier of the final material I like much better for the finished product, and that was from Aluminite. Super plastic. This is the same deal. You get two bottles, one the resin, one the hardener, mix them together, and this performed better for me for my particular product. And that's all usually half the battle. You got to fiddle around and find different resins and different consistencies that'll do the job for what you want done. I'm going to jump ahead and show you a good example. I want to end up with something like this, like the one I have on my car, right? Yes, hear that? It's hard plastic. But talking about the material consistencies, what we were describing, here's the material I tried. Look at this. I don't think this is the right material for the scoop. No, but that's what you learn. You got to pour a few. This one's just too rubbery, right? Those videos are going to show you make a box, right? That's what you start with. You got to make a box. And you take that clay, like I said, knead it, puddle it up, make it soft, and you pile the clay down in that box. Now I set the box on top of construction paper or plywood or something. I do not do this on my wife's, no, not in the kitchen. I'm just here trying to explain it to you. All right, we got the clay in there. We got a puddle of clay. What do you want to do with the puddle of clay? Now use your imagination and pretend what I have in my hand is clay, not rubber, clay. And it was down there inside the box. I'm not going to take this box apart because I don't want to do that. I don't want to go screwing around too much. I'll just pretend this box was set down there, and that clay is up probably about half the depth of the box. I've got lines drawn inside the box into where I was going to pour to. In other words, the box is nothing but a frame. And down there you fill it with clay to halfway maybe, and then you take that fiberglass component I made, which was pretty perfect, right? And you put it down in there on the clay and press it in. Press it down tight in the clay. Right? Now this portion of the clay is high, this portion is low. I know that. But when we have the frame around it, who cares? We'll put the frame around it, like that. And on top of that clay, we're going to pour in the mixture of the rubber. Remember? The composition here that is rubber flexible molds. It's silicone rubber. Poured on top is going to be the rubber, and it's going to come right up to this level. You screed it across, you have a nice flat plane on the back, and on the front of it, what do you have? Well, you have an indent. You have an indent of this part and the clay. This is what you have. This part results from the bottom part. Now you put it in the box, same frame. Take the frame apart, put it on there, right? Now you got rubber instead of clay. You got the rubber of what was the upper is now we got it on her kitchen counter. It is now the lower, and in that recess is the part we're molding, right? I know it's all scratched up and scrappy, but don't worry about it. I'm pressing it down there just like I did in the clay, except now it's in the rubber. So you take your release agent, which you must have. You spray a release agent around all the rubber, around the frame of the box on the inside, around the component. You really don't want to puddle that material, but you want to be sure to spray the coverage so you have a good release agent everywhere. Now, you mix your rubber and pour it in right up to the top. Take a trowel, screed it off so you got a nice level surface on top, because both of them are going to be bottoms, right? You're going to have two halves of the mold, bottom and top, and they're going to be separated where the product is. And it's going to create the separation. What's going to create the separation? Well, the releasing agent is going to come right apart there. And when it molds, that's when you're going to end up, that rubber you poured in is going to end up being this rubber. Right? Now I got this attached to this board for handling. There you can see how it is. Oh, I can almost get it. See? It's all that flat. That's where I screeded it off with the trowel. That was right down inside that box, coming up to the level of the box. And when you pull it out and roll it over, there's the top side of the component that was down in there, right? So now I've got this half, and I got little registration holes here. I don't know if I used some type of button I must have put in there. So they show you this a lot better in their own videos. Now you peel this out. Now you got a cavity in this half. You got a cavity in this half. Hard work is done. Put the two halves together. What do you got? You've got a mold. You've got a mold that comes apart, and in between is an opening, a cavity for us to pour another liquid into. Now, how much liquid do you put in there? Well, what I did was I just put them together just like we did right here. Put some duct tape around it. Good old duct tape. Put the duct tape around it, and I used my wife's. I hope my wife isn't hearing me. I used my wife's measuring cup, right? Poured water in until it came up to the top. And then I know how much water I put in. That's how much resin I've got to put in. See? Don't mix more than you need. Mix more than you need, but not a huge amount more than you need. This stuff is expensive, relatively expensive. So now, take the duct tape off, dry it all out. I still got the cavity in there. There's still a hole in there. The shape, what's the shape? The shape is the shape of this master that I had in. You don't want to compress it together. If you do, you're going to make it too tight and your wall or your product's going to be too thin, or you're going to shut it off and not have a good flow. I took a utility knife and made a big long slit in here for pouring into. I don't care if it flashes. Flashes is what I want to see. Flashes is extra material running off the edge. That's what a flash is. And I don't care if it flashes all the way around, because you can take a utility knife and scratch off very easily, take off the flashing, and just take some sandpaper and dress the component down and smooth it out, and it's perfect. What you can't do, you can't add material to it. So flashing is a good thing. Flashing tells you filled the mold. If you don't have flashing, you may not have enough material in there to make the component you want. Another thing I learned after I did a few of these is vibrating is a good thing. When you pour these, not just the rubber mold, but when you pour the plastic into the rubber mold too, both occasions, it's nice to give it a few taps maybe to help the fluid, whether it's the rubber or whether it's the product, to help the fluid flow, to get out air bubbles. Well, you know, what I did was I set on a platform, I used a slab of plywood. I set the plywood on a couple 2x4s, so it wasn't fully supported. You could shake it, you could vibrate it. And then I have a little air pump that I pump the basketballs and my tires in my car, and just a little portable pump. I set that pump on the plywood off to the side and plugged it in and turned it on. And the vibration of that pump running shakes the plywood enough to keep this component vibrating. So actually, you had a vibration table just like they have in a factory. Well, that's what they do in a factory. They have a table that gently shakes, and that shake lets the solvents flow through the cavities inside the mold, and it lets them replace the bubbles and push the air bubbles up to the top. You'll see in the videos, they're going to tell you, got to be venting as well as pouring material in. You got to let air vent out. That's why I did this huge, massive, long slit for pouring in, because I knew the shape of my product here. I wanted to be sure I had it flow all the way across, and that way it would go down and fill all the body in. So I could literally see the level. I didn't care if this came right up to this top and spilled over. I can run my knife through there and cut that right off. Piece of cake. After it's cured, they'll tell you how long to wait to pop it open. Peel it open is a good word, because it is kind of stuck. Everything's kind of sticky. You got to be patient and gentle with separating it. When you do separate it, what's going to be inside? Well, this black thing, right? Just like this, all poured. The flashing is going to be sticking out through here. There may be some flashing over there on the edge, wherever it wasn't tight. And again, you'd rather have flashing than not. You can always take it off. But now, you pick the part out. It may be stuck a little bit. You peel it out, and you got your finished component. So, okay, I think I'm done with this crude presentation. I think you can understand what I'm getting at. It's that easy. Well, it isn't easy, but it is quite simple, isn't it? Go to those web pages. Boy, you're going to have a lot of excitement when you see the things that they recommend doing, and the way you can utilize their materials. It may give you some ideas of creating some things for yourself. At any rate, that's the best I can do to get it through to you. I hope you enjoyed it. And don't ever claim that I'm a mold maker. I never said that.